Singapore firms face a widening cyber visibility gap, with 47% detecting breaches only after attackers had already stolen corporate data. Darren Chen of Extra Hop and Niyati Daftari of Gartner joins us to discuss this. Welcome, Darren and Niyati. Let's start with the cause. Why are attackers still sitting inside networks for weeks despite rising security spend? Niyati, would you like to go first?
Oh, yes. So there's three major reasons for that. First is the lack of unified visibility across all these tools. On an average, like 40 to 45 cybersecurity tools are present across different organizations in different environments, and all of them have a lot of siloed integration, correlation, event generation. And across these fragmented surfaces is where the attackers primarily reside. Secondly, the lack of defense in depth and the increasing sophistication in the attacker techniques is the second core reason. Initially, the dwell time was like 11 days, and it has gone up to 14 days by now. And now, like, the maximum is noted as 122 days. So, if there is a multi layered defense available, that is where these attackers could have been detected. A lot of organizations are continuously spending towards increasing the perimeter specific and signature based checks across these environments, but defense and depth technologies or posture management across each and every software supply chain landscape is something which is extremely missing. And the most important one is like the alert fatigue. Like, with all these new tools, automations coming in, roughly around 40% of security alerts are closed or bypassed without a deep human look, or even a capacity due to capacity constraints within the teams. So a lot of increasing in volume of sheer alerts, and increased false positives and lack of risk-based prioritization is something which is causing the lot of increment in the still existing presence of all these attackers in the network surface.
What's your take on this, Darren?
So, based on our report for the global threat report, so Singapore's are spending more on tools rather than on visibilities. So, point solutions are throwing out signals that was never meant to, connect the dots and doesn't complete the pictures. So, attackers are getting weaks in the systems while other things are queuing and do that. In the Singapore data, we are nearly half of our responders are saying that informations are already being stolen, right? And 1 in 6 of them noted from a ransom notes. And the reason for that is responders are using encrypted channels, right, mimicking workflow, and stolen high credentials, right? And all this looks the same until you look into the behavior as well. So all of this actually has a visibility gap, right? And the gap is actually widening, right, and not closing.
Now, building on that, Darren, is alert fatigue a technology problem, a staffing problem, or more of a governance problem?
Yeah, honestly, it's actually all three, right? The root of them is definitely the technology problem and the data problems, right? Tools can't separate the signals from the noise, and this stress compounds into staffing and governance, right? In the Singapore analysts, right, most of them are spending more than half of the time doing proactive things like threat hunting, and the rest doing reactive triaging. And from our report, 28% cited alert fatigue, and the major loads falls on texting on incidents and response. And why is that so? Is because most alerts that reach the SOC team has very little context, and they need more time to gather the informations. Right? We need to fix this from the data layer, because better context give you less meaningless alerts. Right. And to make things worse, the talent pool in Singapore is already very limited. By hiring more people to do triaging for bad signals, we doesn't really solve the problems. We are actually accelerating it.
And do you agree with Darren, Niyati?
I beg to differ a little slightly from what he rightfully mentioned. We did see the gaps in the staffing and the technology, but all of them are concentrating hugely on governance gaps. So, as you say, if everything is urgent, nothing is. So, governance is absolutely required to separate these noise from all these too many tools, too many point solutions, too many alerts across each of them. So, what is the actual staffing gap? which particular alerts are actually important, where do we fine tune the policies, and what are the metrics which we are tracking, and how do we generate them from, just a mean time to detect kind of metrics to a particular outcome and risk focused metrics to reduce the risk, is the main reason or is the main gap. So I feel governance is something which, if prioritized, the remaining two will absolutely align.
But how about AI's role in all of this, Niyati? Will AI close the detection gap for defenders or help attackers first?
Okay, so as of now, I'd say that attackers are really, really benefiting a lot more than defenders. Now, there's been a lot of solutions with AI augmentation within the SOC and the alert and threat management space. So, as per our Gartner survey, we do have technologies like AI SOC agents and orchestration of workflows across the SOC for threat detection management. 18, I think there's only like 23% who have actually piloted the AI SOC agents, and 18% of them are still have deployed this. So if you see, the gap is significantly huge. So the main cause right now is the adoption and integration complexity, understanding each and every landscape, integrating these tools, and it's really difficult. So over time, over the long term, when these are successfully piloted, deployed, and integrated, it will provide a much more faster response. So in the long term, I feel that AI is going to cause a significant bridging of the gap. For example, it will have access to billions of events, alerts. It will correlate, investigate all of these at machine speeds, automate the runbooks. So the level one involvement or a lot of human effort which is spent in triaging all this will be simplified, and they will be able to optimize a lot of existing processes, able to meet the existing SLAs and faster time to respond and identify these attackers. So this is, in the long term, AI is going to be suitable and hugely beneficial. So the only ask is that clients and organizations start, we say, implementing this right now or piloting this right now. Otherwise, it might be a little too late and the attackers might have gone a step ahead.
And Darren, how about for you?
Yeah, to add on, right, the AI are really scaling the attacker faster than the defenders can do now, right? From our report in Singapore, 85% of the organizations has already tied to a security incidents due to AI systems. And on the defender side, right, we are adding probably more noise because we are trying to bolt AI agentic systems into current SOAR and try to see whether does it fit, right? From 30% of our responders saying that this causes more false positive and actually delays the investigation timeline. So automating triage, right, before fixing the data problems really create more noises, right? It really accelerated it. So likewise for things like frontier model, open weight models that can really reason well, right? We have to rely on substantial context and evidence from the network, right? Instead of waiting for slower batch-oriented data pipelines. So the traditional SIM models, while it's necessary, right, we cannot keep up on the machine speeds. Hence, the agentic assisted workflow will be something that organization will need to adopt, right? The new operating models, right? That is where we are able to help them to be able to feed real-time context, enrich information to be able to then make the agentic really more fruitful, right? To give you an outcome that we desire.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and for joining us today, Darren and Niyati.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Once again, those were Darren Chen, Sales Engineering Director at Extra Hop, and Niyati Daftari, Principal Analyst at Gartner. For more news, visit sbr.com.sg.